Morning, everybody. How we doing today? Today finds me in the back jungle room. Room I don't shoot in very often, but I've had customers from opening in that last week, so I've not been able to make an episode when I come down here because there's been people here waiting to come in. Great problem to have, and there's a couple out there now. So I'm in the back here filming this while they enjoy their beverages. Today I want to talk to you about what, in my estimation, is one of the greatest records ever. Not just in jazz, not just in bossa nova, but in any vocabulary you want to speak. This record is an omnipresent force of springtime and the sound of growing flowers, the smell of saline breezes, the water just kind of brushing up over your toes, leaving sand implanted between those little guys. It's such a delicate and refined sound. It's elegant. It's minimal, yet it's full of melodic structure. And of course I'm talking about Antonio Carlos Jobim's, the composer of Desafinado, and the composer of many other classics, including One Note Samba and Sensitez, Jazz Samba, Meditation, Girl from Ipanema, Agua de Beber, Corcovado, Chega de Saudade. I mean, it's just every one of these songs on here is a staple of that language and is the foundation, the lexicon of the bossa nova. The bossa nova is a convoluted story, a Brazilian phenomenon that kind of had taken root over there already, and then some Americans went over there, including Charlie Byrd, the great guitar player, and Stan Getz. And Getz brought back Jobim and João Gilberto, and of course Astrid comes out of that with Girl from Ipanema with her vocal version. She wasn't even really a singer; she was her husband, his wife. But the song was a seminal hit, and it's still omnipresent in film and pop culture, as are many other songs on this film. Desafinado, Corcovado, One Note Samba, Meditation. So many of these songs I hear in film all the time to try to create a certain presence, a certain feel, a certain luxurious atmosphere. The bossa nova really transcends time. And even though it's really structured from a 62, 63 centered orbit, it certainly has a much broader connotation and interpretation today. It doesn't feel like something that was just a fad that was only part of a moment, because it was that. It swept the world, and labels that had nothing to do with jazz were doing bossa nova records. I mean, artists had nothing to do with jazz were doing bossa nova records. It was pretty omnipresent and universal, this wave of this new sound. I remember as a kid, all the organs I would set, I had these little bossa nova settings, and I always found this kind of minimal little beat rather unappealing to a fan of Motley Crue. But hearing it today, it's just so perfect, the way it lilts. Like a young fawn. It's delicate, it's gracile, it's feminine in its petite nature. It's not brash, it's not loud, it's not convoluted, it's simple, it's organic. It kind of knows what it's saying and where it's coming from. I wish more people could be that simple. A lot of the one-note finger piano playing I find just compelling. And again, you're playing piano like a horn, where you're playing one note at a time, which allows you to create multiple melodic phrasing and structures within these songs. But they just often have so many different melodic parts that you just find yourself humming along to, singing along later in the day. It's a record I've played at DJ gigs and weddings and events and anniversaries and parties for 20 years at least. And I'm never tired of it. I've never found it to be stale or dry or boring. This is one of the greatest records ever made. And if I remember, this is stuff that he recorded initially in Brazil, and Creed Taylor re-recorded these tracks in New York City, 1963. And this is one of the real waves, like one of the crests of this release. The Stan Getz stuff happens kind of simultaneously. And the Bossa Nova in the 8400, 8500 becomes a predominant force at Verve for Creed Taylor. And he's the one who really propels this sound onto the national landscape. And everyone's pretty quick to follow. There's the great Antonio Carlos Obim. He does some stuff later at Warner Brothers, once Warner Brothers launches its jazz imprint. It's not as good as this, I'll be honest. This one just has such a freshness to it and such a necessary feeling of this is the moment that we're going to change things. And there's a few years between this and what he does at Warner Brothers. And those records are good. If you see them for under $10, they're worth grabbing. But at least one or two of them are with strings, which makes them a little bit more saccharine. But, I mean, I just really want to stress to people, when you see this in a record store for $8, $10, $12, don't pass it over. Because next time you have a dinner party, your guests will thank you. Next time you're having La Elegance in the side garden, your flowers will bend. The next time you want to capture a sea breeze on a cool American day in the upper Midwest, this will blow through your window and calm your soul. And it does speak of a different pace of living. It does speak of a Brazil that, while urbanizing, certainly had industrialized and gone so far down the rabbit hole of the northern and western counterparts here. And so it was more of a relaxed look at life and the beach and the ocean, and these things mattered a little bit more, it feels like. And so it all just creates an atmosphere that's tangible and it's luxurious. And the cool thing about it is, because it is such a pop culture phenomenon, and this is such the foundation of so many artists who did these songs. This is the seminal version of Desperado, Corcovado, One Note Samba. These songs are the ones that show up in films, soundtracks. Like, it's pretty crazy how often you hear these songs. And they always work. They always implant the mood that they're trying to set, that the artist is trying to create. That's because it's such a perfect example of that kind of music and climate and mood and a temperate, somewhat humid atmosphere. It just puts you there. It just gives you that feel. It allows you to zoom along on a Vespa on an oceanfront mountain encased road. I mean, and just feel Christ the Redeemer breathing down your neck. This is what music is supposed to do. It's supposed to transplant us and create a mood, an atmosphere, and a vibe, and put us in a place. And this record does it. And I promise you, you will never tire of this album. And if you don't think that you get it, listen to it a couple times. And trust me, you'll never have a guest get up and leave your house for putting this on. And I've heard some people act like this record's not that cool. And boy, talk about a way to make yourself look not so cool. It's absolutely an essential piece. And being one of the last vestiges of really well-selling jazz, it also has that in port, where it's like, it's just part of this last gasp of a movement. And Getz and Creed Taylor and the whole cast at Verve, all the Bolacetes and Louis Bonfas and all these characters just really ascend to the national landscape. And it makes it an important part because there is some incredible jazz playing done on top of a lot of these records. And a lot of the really great records in the bossa nova scene have some of the best players in jazz in the world breezily improvising over these wonderful, simple melodies. And so whether you're talking about Miles Davis or Jerry Mulligan, it just doesn't matter. it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. So dig some bossa nova. It's springtime. If you want to feel what it smells like and hear sounds like, to listen to flowers growing, put on some of this. Put on some Antonio Carlos Jobim and let the music save you. Because otherwise, it's a cold, black industrial world out there, save for the beaches of Ipanema.